Perfect. All right, we're looking good. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy Not So Thursday today. Today is Monday, November 24th. Sorry, I'm scatterbrained, everyone. Today's a Monday and not Thursday because this upcoming Thursday is Thanksgiving for all those who celebrate. So we will not be having class then. So we're doing it today instead. Just as a friendly reminder, everyone, my name is Saxon. I teach the camera classes here at APT. We've been teaching these for about 3 years now, and we keep the schedule pretty similar. So just so everyone knows, on December 4th, that will be the start of the new schedule, which will then be the beginner class as we then rotate and continue our schedule going forward. But today is beyond the traditional camera. There we go. What does that exactly mean? So for the last 3 weeks, we've really sat down and talked about the things that make photography unique in the sense of control of your camera. Let's grab some water bottles. That's for you. Coffee, but I definitely need water while I talk. But over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about a few different things. So in our intro class, just to recap, we really covered the automatic setting on your camera. I drill that in because I want you to feel comfortable holding your camera, using your camera. If you start to overwhelm yourself with controls and settings, it might become off-putting and you might not be as interested. So intro class is all about automatic, the basic controls and lenses, understanding lenses, just so you have enough to get started. Intermediate class, we are now trying to learn manual control. We're going to manipulate and use the camera like cameras are meant to be used. So we're going to adjust things like ISO, shutter, aperture. From there then, we talk a little bit more about some advancements that you can get and things that you can also manipulate on your camera to help you take better photos. Advanced photography, we now want to learn what I call the 20% of the after of the photo. So if 80% of your work is what comes out of the camera, 20% is the after. It's the editing of your photo. So last week in the advanced class, we talked about photo editing. We talked about ways to take pictures and tips and tricks for both landscape and portrait. And then we ended on more advanced accessories, things that you might need as an advanced photographer or cinematographer when it comes to accessories, whether that be lighting, microphones, stabilization, that sort of thing. Today, though, we are now getting away from all of that completely. Our mirrorless and DSLR shouldn't matter to us anymore at this point. Today, we're going to be talking about what goes beyond your traditional camera. To put it simply, why do you want to advance past your camera? You spent a lot of money and time learning one camera. Now I'm trying to convince you or tell you about other ones that you can get to do the same thing. But what I think people don't realize with this is that cameras have come along so far. And if you look at it, I mean, your cell phone is a testament to that, right? The cell phone cameras came out and it really changed the market of cameras forever, to the point where camera companies have really been putting in so much work and technology to make them better. And that's where the beauty of then people who come into photography nowadays realize that there is a better image that exists past their phone, so they buy a real camera. Well, then you start to learn how limiting your camera can be. Therefore, these companies have created more cameras that then might fit those needs for us. So let's start with portability and travel. These cameras are super lightweight, they're easy to take with you, and because they're so travel friendly, they're very durable for a lot of that reason. If you're using the camera and it gets beat up, especially if it goes underwater, you're typically going to be just fine. That's the waterproofing effect on a lot of these cameras. Recording times are fantastic. Some of the mirrorless and DSLR series cameras that we've talked about for the last few weeks have a 30-minute timer on how long you can record in one go. They do that for safety so the camera doesn't overheat or break down, but at the same time, while they do that, these cameras don't. A lot of these cameras have built-in cooling agents and ways for them to keep a temperature at a regulated level, so you can record for a serious amount of time, more than just 30 minutes. And if you are someone who's interested in flying or has heard the term drones, you have the ability to fly and record over great distances. My personal drone that I own at home, I can get about 4 or 5 miles away from my house before the signal starts to get lost. If I was in an open area with no cell towers and no disturbance, I could easily get my drone almost 10 miles away from me and then fly it back, all while still keeping reception between the camera and the controller. It's really, really incredible. Now, I started off the intro class the same way. I think that this class should be no different. Where do your pictures go, and make sure you have 2 of them. In the intro class, we talked about SD cards. And we're still talking about that, but there's a new version for these smaller cameras called micro SD. Now, I talk about it in the intro class, but again, just to remind everyone, your camera that you buy, if you're buying a mirrorless camera, they have no storage on the inside. Unless you're buying a Leica. Leicas do have internal storage, about 64 gigabytes. These miniature cameras that we're getting have some storage, about 8 gigabytes. Which if you do the math on that for like a 4K video, probably only gives you about 5 minutes worth of 4K footage. So most cameras, some to no internal storage. To simplify it, you want something with a good read and write speed. Again, you don't have to buy something that is the most expensive, but I would look for something with a fast read and write speed. 64 gigabytes or minimum is a minimum. Smallest I would go when recording videos. Videos take up a lot more space, so 128 or 256 are my more preferred cards. They're what I keep in all my GoPros and cameras. But I would say 64 at the least, and you're doing just fine. Now, remember, your picture shouldn't live on the memory card. I like to look at the memory card as I look at a car. If your home is point A and work is point B, your card takes you back and forth from point A to B. In this case, the memory card goes between your camera and your computer for you to transfer and download all of your images or videos after your event or your shoot. Once they're on the computer, I recommend to delete the card, reuse the card, and continue this cycle over and over again until the card eventually dies out on you and doesn't work anymore. So my simple steps: land your drone or turn off the camera unit and give it about 5 seconds before you do anything. All this does is ensure that the cameras have enough time to power down and all the information and data that's been saving is settled. From there, remove the card and put it into a card reader. I always say the best practice is to remove the card. Try to avoid using the camera to send pictures to and from your computer or phone. However, these new cameras do have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi services, so they can do it. So just remember that it takes up a lot more battery to do it that way, and the image quality is diminished slightly. So what I usually tell people in that case is that it's a good way, it's a good thing to use if you want to send someone maybe 2-3 photos, text them off to them. But if you want to download 400 or 500 photos to edit and to go through, I definitely would remove the card. Use a good card reader. These are some that we sell here at App. There's tons online. I'm pretty sure you can find them at gas stations. They're really not that expensive and they're not that hard to find, but get one that works for you. Some cards work for the higher end cameras. Other cards give you more charging ports if your computer is lacking them. So it really is just more up to you and what you need as a user. From there, then, we want to make sure we copy photos to a destination folder. I like to put an emphasis on the copy and say don't move. The reason being is that if we duplicate them, we're ensuring that they're still in one location and we're making a duplicate copy of them onto a new location. All this does is peace of mind. If the card becomes disconnected, rather than your photos being in a limbo of transfer, they're still on one device, and if something were to go wrong, we can always get back to the other device and get the images and not have to worry about missing any or them being lost. Whatever we put on this folder onto the computer, if we can't find it later, you You can always look under, if you're a Windows user, it's Explorers, and if you're a Mac user, it's under Finder. But I typically recommend to label the destination folder something that is easy for you to remember. So if you just went on a big vacation, you went to Spain, you might want to put Spain vacation 2025 or November Spain 2025. Whatever it might be, so that way in the future when you're looking for these photos and you say, well, I know I went on a trip in 2025. Well, I know I went to Spain that year. I think it was November that month that I went. You can type in all these keywords using Explorer or Finder, and you should be able to locate that folder, no problem. Now, I also recommend copying these to a secondary location. Typically, I tell people an external hard drive or some form of cloud-based solution. If you're not familiar with that, Prime Photos and Google Drive are two very popular ones. But this ensures you have a backup. Your computer ever dies on you or breaks and things aren't recoverable or findable, well, at least the hard drive or the saved cloud has all the photos that you've taken over the time. Make sure to eject the card before physically removing it. This is typically a left click and then eject, or you drag it down to the trash can, depending on the computer that you're using. After that, format the card into the reader, or in the camera, sorry. And I always say don't erase it in the reader. Reason being is it's better to format the card in the camera. You're ensuring that the card is primed and loaded for that specific model of camera. That really just optimizes the space and ensures that you can get the maximum amount of photos onto that card. So, your call. If you're using this card with that camera, and that's the only camera you're using and you formatted it once already, you probably don't need to worry about formatting it every time, and you can just erase all the photos in the reader, whatever works best for you. Your backup plan. So going through step by step to talk about what we see up here. It all starts with the SD card. The SD card is saving the information. We're taking that and putting it into a card reader to download and save everything to the computer. From there, once it's on the computer, we want to copy them, not move them, but copy to a secondary location. I would recommend a hard drive or a cloud-based solution. And again, just to show some clouds, Google Drive is a fantastic option. I mentioned Prime Photos earlier. There's also OneDrive, which is great. If you're using Microsoft, Microsoft uses OneDrive. And then Adobe Creative Cloud will be my last one. If you're interested in editing or really if you're just interested in editing your digital art, whether that's photos, design, video, Creative Cloud's great because you get all the Adobe Suite programs, but they also give you X amount of gigabytes of cloud storage for your photos or for your files. So, not a bad option as well too. So let's go through a tour of your device. I'm going to break down 4 different devices for you. And there's a certain point with camcorders and Insta360 cameras, there's not too much to say about those. So majority of today will be on our drones or our action cameras, but I will give information for all these cameras, talk a little bit about each one individually. If anyone has any questions, feel free to chime in at any point in time. Online viewers, feel free to chat if there's anything you want to say. Let's start with the GoPro and action cameras. Now I like to say GoPro / action camera because a lot of people consider all these types of cameras GoPros. But GoPro is a brand. It's very similar to Kleenex box. They're tissue paper, but we mainly call them Kleenex because of the brand. GoPro's similar, but GoPros are extremely simple cameras. They're small, they're compact, they're portable. They mainly have 2 buttons and a screen. One button is your capture button. It's usually located on the top of the unit. And that one is going to start or stop the video for you and take a photo. The power button has a 2 functions, or has a 2-fold function. Holding this button down will will power on and off the unit. You can also toggle between things like time-lapse, photo, and video by clicking that button one time each. Very similar to DJI's Action series, similar to cameras by Insta, so very common practice. The screen, on the other hand, though, is the whole thing for this camera. What can the screen really control? Well, frames per second, angle and lens millimeter size. So for example, you could set it to be wide, which would tell you on the screen 16 to 34 millimeters. Your video quality. What's the quality of video you're shooting in? HD, 2.7K, 4K. Hindsight is GoPro's version of autofocus. Hypersmooth is their version of in-camera stability. The front screen then on your unit is going to show you the video duration during selfie mode, so you can see what you're recording. So if you're looking to vlog or maybe do a family or fun video with some other people and you want to hold the camera up and get everybody in a selfie style, then that screen on the front of the GoPro will show you what you're seeing and what you're recording. To break down those modes, photo's pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to capture stills in frames rather than take videos. Video should be pretty self-explanatory. You can record video for whatever duration you want, whatever quality you want, with features like Hypersmooth. Time-lapse is a little different. If you're not familiar with it, time-lapse and hyperlapse is the ability to take a very, very long video. In this case, we're saying anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours. And then it takes that video and shrinks it and speeds it up so it plays back within seconds or minutes. Why this is fun or why this matters is because you can get some really cool things out of this. Where I see this really popular, people will take this of the night sky. They'll set their camera up, they'll set it on time lapse, they'll leave the camera, and you can physically see the sky as it's moving, or as we're moving through the sky. I've seen people do this with traffic, where they'll let cars drive back and forth or past, and you just see the taillights zipping and going, and it's just trails of lights. I've seen this with waterfalls, I've seen this with surfing, I've seen some really cool time-lapse videos, but that time-lapse feature is available through the mode button. Now I like to show these quick little snippets, these GIFs if you will, because this I think to me is the testament for why GoPros and action cameras are awesome, and why they're so still sought after even after almost 20 years of being made. They're compact, they're portable, but the durability is what I really think is fun with these. There's a first-person point of view that you get with these that's really cool, or a third-person point of view depending on the angle of the camera. They're durable, they can take a beating, but they last for a really long time, and again, most of the accessories that you find out there work from generation to generation. And those are the reasons why I think GoPro is one of the best out there. Action cameras in general are one of the next best things to add to your arsenal. I think these 4 images sum it up really nice. In the top left corner, that tripod should represent accessories. There are thousands upon thousands of accessories that you could get for the GoPro to make sure that not only is it personalized for your use, but it's also personalized for what you're trying to accomplish. The first person point of view is fantastic, but being able to bike and mountain climb or to do anything that's active and adventurous without having a shaky camera view is pretty cool. The waterproof housing and the ability to go underwater is awesome, and I just think overall, with the picture on the bottom of the dog there, this is a fun camera. The camera is meant to be silly, it's meant to be put into weird situations. Our own marketing team likes to use the camera, use GoPros when we're filming construction projects here in the store to see the time lapse of our new upstairs being built or anything quite like that. So action cameras are a fun one to add if you're interested and this is something that you're trying to accomplish with your mirrorless or your DSLR. Drones. Drones are probably everyone's favorite topic out of the bunch with this one. I personally fly my own drone. I have a DJI product that I absolutely adore. However, there's controversy with it. There are political parties involved with it that don't make it so much fun. So we'll talk about that in a little bit and explain what to know about drones. But overall, let's just kind of go into drones. So, there are a lot of different drone types out there. The main one we're looking at today is a quadcopter, and it gets its name because it has 4 blades. Quad. Now, when you're looking at these, this is basically the style of drones that you'll see. This kind of sums up both the RC level of it, which is the hobbyist part, and then the filming aspect of it too as well. Single rotor is going to look like your typical helicopter. If you've seen a helicopter, you've ever flown a little toy plane helicopter, that's what you're thinking of. Quadcopter is what we're talking about now. It's the most popular style of drone sold on the consumer level. FPVs exist in this, which needs goggles to fly, but typically only will come as a quadcopter. And that's really if you want to be the pilot, you want to navigate this, and you're doing all of the tricks and the movement. It's really cool. Cinedrones, though, are a little different. They fly as quadcopters, but they're really a high-quality camera or tracking on there. So this is great for the cinematographer, for the hobbyist, for the person who's just trying to get into flying. The hexacopter is a 6-bladed copter, and it's great for filming and stability in the air. That's the professional one. If you see a hexacopter on a movie site or anything like that, just know that that pilot had to get extensive training on how to do this. The whole thing probably costs a little under $500,000. The camera by itself is $80,000 to $90,000. It's an incredible set of machinery on this, but the hexacopter is what you see from movies. That's really what replaced planes flying or helicopters flying to get shots in movies.
Those are much larger.
Much larger. I mean, they're so big they can fit somebody, like someone can stand on it and they can lift you off the ground. It's incredible. And then lastly, fixed wing rotor, which is more of a plane experience. It's great for people who aren't trying to play with helicopters. They want to actually try to fly a plane. Fixed wing rotors, single rotors are probably going to be more of a toy, less of a drone that you can use for filming, but they can still get really expensive, and if that's something that you're interested in, definitely fun to explore. Now, controller and button layout. All the drone controllers are different because each brand makes something a little bit different than the other. However, no matter what drone you're using, you will need a screen attached to the drone in order for it to have picture and in order for it to see what you're filming. There is a Pro controller and a phone controller. The Pro controller has a built-in screen. The phone controller does not. The phone controller, though, will charge your phone as you're using it, and the battery then extends to connect to the physical drone. So that technically has the longest battery life of the two. Whereas our remote control that has the screen built into it will still be able to do everything that this one can do. It just won't charge your device. But the nice part is the screen is built in. You don't have to then put your phone onto it. If someone calls you, the drone will not come crashing out of the sky. You can look at someone calling. You can see a text message. It just more so becomes annoying, and so it's therefore it's the saving money or having the convenience of a screen on there. That's really the debate, I would say, here. But that being said, buttons and layouts are almost identical. So you're going to have all of these features on your controller. So control sticks, one joystick will control your up and down movement as well as rotation. The other will control front and backwards plus side to side. Antennas, you point these outwards. These are the connection point between the drone and the controller. Your gimbal dial, rotational control over the drone's camera. Record button, clicking this will record or take a picture. Focus and shutter, this will give you the ability to refocus on what you're filming or shooting, or it'll give you control over the speed of the shutter. These are usually things that you can either change by clicking a button or by going into the settings in the controller and updating them. And lastly, RTH. This is the ability to take the drone from wherever it's at and send it right back to where it took off from. I put this in parentheses, and I need to make sure I say it out loud, do not do this feature on a moving object. Again, it comes back to where you took off from, where it took off from. So I had a customer come in one time about this. She was on a boat, family's lake house, they were riding around, she wanted to fly, she got these really cool videos of the boat. She showed me all of them, which was even cooler, and the video of then the drone after she clicked RTH going, starting to land. It realized it can't land in water. Drones are smart, they won't land in water. However, it kept getting lower and lower, and then a tide eventually came up and pulled it right underneath. So it's simple stuff like that, but don't click the RTH button if you are on a moving object. Now, much like the action cameras, the screen of your controller for the drone also tells you some information that's important to know while you're flying. Starting with distance from you and the drone, the altitude of your drone, your ability to switch between photo and video mode, map of geofencing, which I'll explain on the next slide, and the surrounding area that you're in, an active track cancel to start, or cancel or start button, and then the RTH and immediate land. So that's also built onto the screen already for you. So again, simple controls, simple features, but those are all available on the screen. So as you're using it, you can click and select any of these features while you're flying. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. Drones fall under a weird area where the government technically still has to keep an eye on them, but at the same time, you kind of are free to do a lot. So this is where a lot of people pay attention. First and foremost, the FAA is the person that you must, that's Big Brother in this case. Your local police, sheriff, probably not the ones that you need to worry about as much, as long as you're not doing anything harmful or breaking any laws with these drones. But the Federal Aviation Association is the one who really monitors and sets the parameters for how we follow the rules with this. Currently in the United States, this started during the Biden administration, is now continued through the Trump administration, DJI's drones section are not being allowed to be sold here in the United States. They've seized all products that have come into the United States at customs, and this has been ongoing for over a year now. We're probably about to hit the 2-year mark soon. Rumor has it that we're supposed to get some sort of news in April, that we should be getting everything taken care of, but overall, if you see someone selling DJI products, it's most likely used, or they brought it in from Canada, Mexico, or wherever else have you. But in general, you won't see any new DJI products around, at least not yet. That being said, there are other companies. Potensic is a company, Hover Air is a company, Rotel, if they're still available, is a company. It might have closed. But DJI is still one of the #1 drone manufacturers in the world. They have really great products, really great software, easy to use, great. Now, with your drone, for a regular consumer drone, there are 2 different permits. One is just a simple registration. The other is an actual permit. They call it Part 107. If you have a drone that is under 249 grams, or it's 249 or less, you do not need any permit of any kind unless you're doing commercial work for business or pay. I had someone who worked for DJI say it to me very simply, and I always like this. You're buying a drone? I was like, yep. And they're like, are you making a video? Are you going to use any of these videos for anything other than yourself? And I was like, nope. They're like, then you don't need to worry about registering. If you said yes to any of that, then you probably should register. And by register, I mean you probably want to look at doing the Part 107. If your drone is over 249 grams, you must legally register your drone, or you're told to register. Costs about $5, includes, of course, information that needs to be read. After completion, you just clearly write out the permit number on the drone. If, let's say, you do get stopped for any reason, technically this can be confiscated until you can be, again, I don't know the full details of it because this has never happened to me. But until a trial of some sort, or until at least someone sees you about whatever the activity you were doing with the drone was. So as long as it's registered, if you were to be stopped with the drone, nobody really can do much. They check registration, make sure you are who you say you are, and then let you on your merry way as long as you weren't doing anything illegal. On the flip side of that, though, Part 107 is not about needing to register to fly or any of that. It's to do work for commercial or business. Drone flying technically is still can still be a problem. And so this course is supposed to teach you how to basically fly, what insurances to know about, how to protect you, yourself, others around you. But it's something that they make you do to basically ensure that you're a knowledgeable pilot and that you're not going to harm anybody with what you're doing. So if you answer yes, and you will be doing video for other people, even if it's non-for-profit work, you still should register Part 107 so you don't get in any trouble. Geofencing, that's the last thing we'll talk about in this one. Geofencing is important because it's the virtual wall that prevents your drone from pushing forward or flying in areas. Typically, you're going to see geofencing at airports, government buildings, national parks, certain cities or properties. My cousin lives in Arizona. I visited her a couple years ago. We were flying a drone in the desert, and I realized that I hit an area where it was Iroquois Indian reservation, and it wouldn't let me push the drone further. So Native American reservations is a great example of an area where the drone is geofenced, locked, so you're not allowed to fly through that area. And again, I like these little clips because I think they do a good job of showing off why drones are awesome. And I think it's pretty simple. They're unique, they're fun. The active track features really give you the ability to follow a subject or a person really well. You get these larger than life scenes that you can film and pick up. They're just fun if you're not doing anything else with them. But I like to show these 4 images because I think they do a really good job. Areas that maybe we've never been able to get to before, places you've always wanted to take a video or take a picture of, you can do that now because you can fly the drone up there and get that angle or view. Things like perspective on land or on architecture. I know that this is a famous beach walk in Miami, and people always talk about the walls that look like waves, but you can't really see it unless you look at it from up above. And that's a cool image to me. And then lastly, the picture on the very bottom, group photos. I never thought about this till a couple of years ago. The holidays are coming up, but it's a really easy way to take a group photo to start up the drone. I fly mine. I did one in my house one time where the whole family had about 10 people set up. I flew the drone up just high enough where it was at eye level and pushed it back as far as I could. It had a wider angle lens look to it, and it really looked sharp. You could see everything, all of us in the family photo, and none of us had to be behind the camera missing out on the photo. So simple things like that go a long way, but that really can make an impact with the product that you're using. Camcorders. Now I'm eventually going to be changing this to FX cameras or cinema cameras. The term camcorder is slowly but surely going away. But camcorders, cinema cameras are pretty straightforward and simple. They're video-centric cameras. Does this mean you can't take a photo? No, you can still take a photo on these cameras. But the way that I look at it, and the way to put it the most clearly and simple, is that it's video first, a little bit of photo at the end. So if you're not someone who's interested in video or photo or video, this might be a better option for you. While the controls and everything are almost identical in a lot of ways, the terminology and the way the camera is used and operated is a little bit different. So video quality is the main thing you're setting on here. So setting your camera for HD, 4K, or any other qualities your camcorder is capable of. Image stabilization. Setting your camera to have image stabilization on will ensure you have a non-shaky video. Face detection. Most camcorders will have an auto face detection, which depending on what you're filming, can help keep humans in focus. Frame rate, the rate at which you're capturing frames or your video, for your video, I forgot the F there. A lesser rate, better for simple or standard videos. Faster rates always for sports, action, or slow motion. Now your bit rate, this is something we talked about in editing your photo, but it's very prominent in video. Bit rate helps your camera take in information. So the higher you set your bit rate to, the more info that comes into the camera. Keep in mind that's the more memory that then gets taken up, so larger SD cards will not be required. Exposure control controls the darkness or lightness of your video. Why use camcorders? Camcorders, pretty simple. It's really made for people who are video forward. If you're someone who is interested in making YouTube videos or movies or documentaries, whatever it might be, you're probably better suited for something like this. Something that gives you the ability to shoot video at a more professional level and photo. Typically the camera is ergonomic and better in the hand, making it great for holding for long periods of time. You can see that in the top left corner with the grip on there. Camera is very cinematic, offers really nice filters or LUTs, so something like that bottom left corner shows it off really well. And then I think the cool part about it is that camcorders or video cameras are highly accessorized. You can add things like grips, microphones, filters, hoods, coolants, all sorts of stuff to help your camera perform at its peak. And lastly, 360 cameras. This is a hard one to talk about because it's a cool camera, it's unique, it's different, but it's one of those things that I would say this is more of a fun camera. Probably won't be the camera that you are going to use to make, to film your next vacation, but this might be the camera that you use with your kid to make fun of family videos, or it might be a fun camera that you and your friends take out when you're celebrating or out to party or whatever it might be. So they work and function like all other action cameras. So waterproof, dustproof, they can take a beating, you're good there. The big difference is they have two 180-degree firing lenses on there. So one lens in the front, one lens in the back. That's what gives it its 360 name. If you don't want to use both and you want to switch it off, you can just use one lens and just do the front. Now with these cameras, because you're shooting in 360, you can easily see your selfie stick or your hand. So they've made it where the selfie stick is invisible as you're using it. They call it seamline technology or seamless technology, I forgot which one. But basically what it does is it takes the two 180-degree firing lenses and stitches them together at the bottom, so that way when it sees the long pole that's holding this camera, it actually blocks out the pole. So it's a really cool feature. So your selfie stick's invisible as you're using this camera. It creates a third-person view unlike any other camera you've ever seen. And videos can be viewed in the entirety with a VR headset. If you don't want to use a VR headset, you can simply just scroll through your phone and watch it. They're compact, they're small, they're durable, they're a really fun camera to use. And again, I don't have too much to say about it because it's a lot of you experimenting with this one for fun. What I will say is, when I say that you can scroll to see the different angles of your video, that image in the top left corner is what I mean. After you've made your video, recorded, their whole saying is to shoot first, think later. You shoot, and the camera will then record everything in the 360 style. From there, then you can edit and select specific points you want it to focus at, and certain areas that you want to highlight. The app is super intuitive. It's easy to use, gives you a lot of control between everything. And they're fun cameras. You can really see everything involved in there. You can manipulate it. This is obviously making it at a very forced perspective, but this shows off the invisible stick. He's got the camera held up on the stick. You can see his hand down below holding something, but it doesn't show the actual stick in the video. Why use 360 cameras? They're fun. They're unique, they're different. If you have a 360 camera already, you probably can already know, you know that nobody else is using anything quite like what you have. They're fun, they're silly, but they really do a fun job of storytelling, of capturing video. The quality is great, and again, they're just fun. That should be all I have for you guys. So thank you for coming this whole month. Happy Thanksgiving to all that celebrate. Just to remember everybody, this upcoming Thursday we will have no class, it's Thanksgiving. December 4th will be the intro class, the beginner photo class, and we're going to start the whole process over again with intro to cameras, then followed by intermediate, then followed by advanced, and then we'll do this again as the last class of the month. I believe Christmas Eve mixes or Christmas mixes in with our days for next month, so I'll keep everybody updated on what days we choose to schedule the classes if they get screwed up. But December 4th is our first class for the month. Any questions for me?
2 questions.
Sure.
So when you're saving photos, and like this is a problem I have, you have like thousands of photos, and you're looking for a specific one.
Yeah.
I know you can group, execute a naming convention, so
Sure.
you can kind of metadata,
Yeah.
so make it a little easier,
Yeah.
something like that. Although even that, once you're in the folder, like you said, Spain, whatever, right? You'll know all your Spain photos.
Yep.
But beyond that, I mean,
that's where it gets tricky. I mean, that's where you can. If you really want, you can label. I look at it, the way I word it to customers is it's like the way that grandma used to write on the back of her photos, where it would be like, okay, so-and-so, 1951. Whatever it might have been, they would write it on the back. You could technically label the photo as the same thing to then find it.
yeah.
That's like the next step. I'm usually never that far into
Sure,
it myself, but that would be the best way to do it. Would be going through and let's say, okay, I took 50 photos at Christmas. There's Sue, there's Blanche, there's my son Ryan, there's my mom, grandma in this one. You can do it that way, but that would be the only other way I could think of.
Yeah. Otherwise, AI's got to do it, because otherwise that takes too long.
Exactly, and then that's the other side of it too. Like even with the phone now and everything, AI is getting to the point where when you're going through your photos, you can simply just type in a keyword like dog, and every photo with a dog in there that AI can recognize will then show and populate for you.
Yeah, that's very convenient.
That is. I mean, that's where I see more of AI in general going, especially in the camera industry. It's not necessarily going to replace or do anything, but it's going to become more of a convenient tool for you to get to the end result. You're seeing that even in Photoshop. Years ago, to sit there and try to remove a pole from Photoshop and try to go through and color match. Now you can simply select, go into the AI program on Photoshop and just say remove light pole. Or even if like I want to take this tree, I could circle it if I had a photo and say add leaves, and it would do that for me. Simple things like that would have taken me probably hours to get through in the past, and even then it still wouldn't look as good as the AI problem makes it. So it's interesting, but yeah.
My other question, and I've seen it, some like image stabilization.
Yeah.
Why would you not want it?
Because it wastes battery.
Okay.
So anytime another setting's turned on, whether it's autofocus,
Any feature.
on that camera, it's gonna cut battery life. If you are a professional photographer or videographer, maybe you're doing a video, you might honestly turn off stabilization because you have a gimbal set up for the camera that's going to automatically do everything and what have you. Like the one case I could think of is guys who do like the car commercials where it's like the Chevy truck and it's like driving through.
If you want that
And
look,
what people will do is not even that, but they have those. If you ever watch how they film those, it's usually another car that's following them that has a giant crane arm that's coming down with the camera attached to the crane arm. That thing has springs and shocks and all this stuff in it that basically, even if we were riding or filming and it was going like this the whole time, the camera's just gonna keep steady the whole time. Everything else around it will move. with that setup and everything else, you probably would keep autofocus or keep stabilization off. You don't need it, and it'll help your battery life, so you don't have to get into the camera and take everything off. That's the only thing I could think of. Would I ever turn mine off? No.
Although those guys,
Yeah.
they probably have it hooked up to a hard power source anyway.
Exactly.
If they want to.
They've got that. I mean, they've got all these other. I've only been on set for a few things, like in Chicago, and I went for, I forgot what it was. But seeing some of the equipment and the stuff that they're using, I mean, it's like with truck drivers. They always say that truck drivers nowadays have it where like they have an auto steer on their like machine. So if they for some reason slip up and stop steering, the thing keeps itself straight. Like it'll keep steering for them. Same kind of thing with the cameras.
Lots of toys. Lots of
Lots
toys.
of toys. I know. I have too many at home. Too many cameras.
How long have you had your drone?
My drone, I've had it for about 3 years now. Cause now I had the Mini 3 Pro, and Mini 4 Pro came out before the ban happened, and now there should be a Mini 5 Pro, but we'll probably won't see that in the United States.
That's crazy.
It was a whole thing. I remember when everything started, people were like, "Oh, it was Trump," and I'm like, "Well, no, it happened before Trump." And then it was like, "Oh, no, it was Biden." And I'm like, "Well, no, it wasn't him either. It was basically where it all stemmed from."
Social Security, wasn't it? Yeah.
They put it under the guise of that. Really, what we kind of discovered, or what I've discovered through it, and I take it for what it's worth, the U.S. is trying to get a big drone contract going with a big company. And so this American company that's trying to get the U.S. government contract basically was like, well, one thing that we don't do, that DJI does, is this. And they're from China, and they're doing this, which is sketchy, but we wouldn't do that. And then that's when the U.S. started looking into it. They told DJI, you got to turn off that security thing, and whatever. And DJI was like, we can turn it off. That's not a problem. They showed paperwork. They identified it. Then another thing came out about child labor and labor law controversy that was going on in China, which I heard about. So there's so many different stories that are rolling around about what happened, whether it's security, that government contract, labor issues. I think it's a combination of all three. And now I just think that from what I'm understanding, it's like one or two people that are just like putting a heavy force, being like, we won't allow this to come back.
They do the same thing for the surveillance cameras too.
Yeah.
You can't,
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I hope they come back soon, because there really isn't that many companies. There's nobody else that makes them like DJI does. But it is a whole thing. So, but I like it. I like my drone. It's a lot of fun.
I got some kind of off-brand because it was like an Amazon deal or something.
Yeah.
Which was what I wanted, because it's the first drone, so if I crash it out,
Exactly.
I don't care. But yeah, the DJIs,
I was lucky enough. I could when I got mine, I could afford. I was doing I did the Pro series, so the 3 Pro. So it has the tracking sensors on there, so I could technically like follow me. And like I did it once with my dog, where he was running. I set it to him, and then I put the controller down, hit record, and then the drone has sensors, so that way it doesn't crash into anything or bump. But you could be running. I mean, my dog was booking it, and my drone was flying right overhead, following him the whole time.
So I've seen a couple of those where like someone just starts riding a bike that's behind them or something.
Yeah.
So do they just say, "Hey, stop following me for 30 minutes"?
No.
Does it just keep going?
Yeah. So this picture shows it really well. The top left corner. So what you do on your controller is you take your finger and you basically hold it, and then a green switch will appear. You then
That's your
just
target base.
Yep, and then you just drag it to make it as big as you want. The AI, the technology, then realizes, okay, there's one person right there, the rest is flat, and then it just locks on. When you're ready to stop, on the screen, there's a little X on that green square, and you just click that. But yeah, I had a customer who had a really cool video he showed me. He was doing a big motorcycle ride or experience in Europe, where he rode from one part of Europe to the others over a course of a week, and went through mountains with a group and all this stuff. He's like, I do it every 2 years. It's my favorite thing. He's like, this year, I saw it last year, a bunch of guys brought drones and these 360 cameras. He's like, I want one of those. So he got both. But the footage he put together was gorgeous. He posted that on YouTube, got thousands of views on it. But he did that where he's like just looking like a badass, sitting on the motorcycle riding, and the drone is like right next to him the whole time.
And he's riding at speed.
And he's riding, probably. I mean, from what he told me, he's like, probably about 35 miles an hour. Still not incredible. That's still fast.
That's plenty fast. Yeah.
But I mean, as long as like you're in an area with the drones where you can get a good wind level, these drones, for the most part, on the consumer level, have like wind resistance level 4, which is usually about 30, 40 miles.
So they have they'll have some compensation.
Yeah. So as soon as you get to some of like if you get into real fast winds, there's no chance with these things. And that's when you need the bigger drones, because the bigger drones have higher wind classes where then they can resist higher speeds of wind, closer to 90, 80, whatever it might be. But at the same time, those drones then weigh a lot more. They typically cost a lot more. It's a flip side. My favorite time to fly my drone, I make my own footage for myself for the Chicago Polar Bear Club. I'm part of that. Every year we raise a bunch of money. Everyone jumps into the lake, and it's a lot of fun. One of my jobs, I'm the filmer for that. I'm the cinematographer. So I go in the water with waders on in January with my camera set up, and I literally am filming people as they go in and out. But on my neck, I keep my lanyard with my drone on there. They only run in for about 30 minutes. So as I'm taking video and picture, I'll stop, pull out my drone, and fly it above everybody to get the aerial of everyone running in. It's really cool. But yeah, I'm a big proponent of it. I really hope that everything gets figured out. We can get them back in, because they're a lot of fun. People love them, and they kind of sell themselves.
It's just a matter of time, because the demand is.
Yeah, it's been skyrocketing, but it's been a year now, so I'm like, it's either that or another company will probably come out of the woodworks and challenge whatever this is. So, well, I appreciate you attending all my classes. Thank you so much. Great meeting you.
Yep.
Take care. All right. Well, to all my viewers online, I don't have much for you guys. That is all I had for class today. Thank you guys. Thanks for being here every week, every month, watching these with me. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Again, this month, or this Thursday, is Thanksgiving, so there'll be no class this upcoming Thursday. We will pick up next week, December 4th, with our intro to cameras. So I hope to see everybody there if you weren't there in last month. As always, everybody, enjoy your holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. Keep shooting as much as you can, and I'll see you guys.